Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Selling Hobson by the Pound. This week for the Music 24 shop on eBay. And some really cool stuff. I was going through my audio file recording section and found duplicates and so forth, things that I thought would be interesting. This one being a Cardis record. This is called Kip Dobler, Reaching Out from the Inside. And this is a series of recordings that George Cardis initiated. And I know George, I've known George for many years and have been at many of these sessions. This is a direct-to-disc LP, pressed at RTI, and it's sealed. It is 33 1/3, and it's Kip Dobler, who used to be one of the so-called silent terminators at Cardis. Anyway, this is an absolutely great sounding record, and there's a number of these direct discs, so I should probably just talk about it for a second for those people that don't know. The normal process of making a record involves cutting a lacquer, usually from a tape, and then having that lacquer plated and getting stampers or what are called metal parts, and you press records, right? So the direct disc approach takes the tape stage out of that. So basically, you have a recording session, and the musicians are all there, and instead of capturing that through microphones to a tape machine, you capture it through microphones and maybe a mixing console, but then the output of that goes directly to the cutting lathe. And so that's why it's called direct-to-disc, and it takes the tape stage out. And every time you take a stage out of that process, you lower the noise, right? When you go to tape, there's noise involved, there's distortions and so forth. And then, of course, you got to play it back, and the playback through more electronics means, the potential for either additions or subtractions. So direct-to-disc has always been considered to be more audiophile in nature because it takes out one of those stages. Anyway, there you go. So here is Alive in Little Bridges, and this is another Cardis. This is a 45 RPM disc that Cardis made, and Cardis 45 RPM direct-to-disc sealed, right? And there's some pictures on the back of the recording setup, and here's the lathe, and they went direct-to-disc and so forth, and really cool stuff. Level of transparency that is pretty unmatched. The company, or one of the companies, actually started all this direct disc stuff, though, for those people that remember, is a company called Sheffield Lab, and it was started by Lincoln Mayorga and Doug Sachs. Doug Sachs being obviously of the mastering disc or the mastering lab mastering studio that was in Hollywood for many, many years. Doug passed a few years ago. Good friend of mine. Taught me a lot about making LPs. Anyway, here are a number of those Sheffield Lab, recognizable Sheffield Lab direct-to-disc. This is Larry McNeely, Jeff Levin, and Jack Skinner, kind of a trio, and in beautiful condition. These are very rare. This is Sheffield Lab 11, Harry James and his big band, still Harry, after all these years. Got the Sheffield. Here's this famous Sheffield track record, Lab 20, another direct-to-disc. Rock instrumental tracks for audio component testing and evaluation. James Newton Howard, Carlos Vega. That's a pretty legendary one. Now here's a rare one. This is Lincoln Mayorga. This is Lab 1, Sheffield direct disc recording, November 26 to 28, 1973. Recorded at the Mastering Lab in Hollywood. I write wow sound. It's got that purple Sheffield label originally. Lincoln Mayorga and distinguished colleagues. This is volume 3. And here is the missing link, which is Lincoln Mayorga and Distinguished Colleagues, Volume 2, right? Recorded live from the studio to the master disc, obviously direct disc. Uber rare Sheffield Lab direct-to-disc recording. Lead in on side 1 is noisy, but subsides when music begins. And of course that would have been on the lacquer and hence on the metal parts. So yeah, really, really cool. There you go, Sheffield Lab 2. And that's a picture of Lincoln on the cover. Here is one of the big titles on Sheffield Lab. This is big audiophile following on the Sheffield Lab direct-to-disc record with You Are in the Room sound. I put 2 wows on this. This is Thelma Houston and Pressure Cooker, I've Got the Music in Me, and the song by that title is one of the great songs on this record. So, rare record. Here's another audiophile favorite, Sheffield Lab direct-to-disc, James Newton Howard and Friends. So there you go. That's the direct disc offering this week. And now we find ourselves back in the middle of my EMI collection, which is not very much longer. Here's the Elgar Symphony No. 1 with Bolt. This is ASD 3330. Later EMI pressing with dead quiet surfaces, allowing the bold LPO performances done by Bishop and Parker to shine in every way. Everything about this recording is amazing. I write, buy it. Yeah, really good performance. Beautiful cover art too, by the way. Elgar Enigma Variations in Vaughan Williams English Folk Suite Music. Famous Enigma Variations by Elgar, expertly interpreted by Bolt LPO, a Christopher Bishop production. Remember Bishop and Parker. Bishop was the music producer. Christopher Parker was the recording engineer. In this case, this is not a Christopher Parker recording, but a Christopher Bishop production. Some random surface noise is not distracting. It's a small postage stamp dog label. Here's one you don't see very often. Do I have any notes on this? Huh. Oh yeah, here we go. Rare Elgar Set, early Big Dog label choral recording featuring top artists including Janet Baker, Richard Lewis, and the Ambrosia Singers. Rarely see this set. Includes this nice libretto and a nice thing inside. To play these stereo records on mono reproducer, the reproducer should have either a stereo pickup wired for mono or a suitable mono pickup. Most pickups produced recently will be suitable for this purpose. If in doubt, consult your dealer. I love it. Anyway, this is a stereo copy of The Dream of Jertonus by Elgar. I think a 3-record set. Elgar Overtures, Bolt, and London Phil. I think this is a second copy that I had, ASD 2822. I just remember the sound on this being spectacular. Don't remember where it was recorded at, but really, really nice recording. This is another Bishop, Christopher Bishop production. He did a lot with Bolt, I think. So anyway, there you go, Elgar Overtures. Pomp and Circumstance, Elgar with Sir Adrian Bolt, London Phil. EMI Bishop and Parker, effort capture Bolt LPO at a pinnacle of recording quality. You can hear every detail and big sound and dynamics. Doesn't get any better than this on EMI. Quiet surfaces, top copy. It's got the little color postage stamp dog label. More Elgar, Nursery Suite, a number of others. This is Groves in Liverpool, conducting Elgar. Groves, Liverpool, Phil know Elgar so well, and it shows on this fabulous effort recording at Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool, UK. Beautiful sound, quiet surfaces, great LP. ASD 2582. Here we go. This is one of my favorites, actually. This is Adrian Bolt and Yehudi Menuhin doing Elgar Violin Concerto. I say famous Bolt Menuhin effort on Elgar Concerto in 1966. Very big and lush sound. Menuhin is superb as always. Top recommendation, big sound. It's got the Big Dog label, which is probably a second label, maybe an original label at this point, ASD 2258. Here we go into some reissues. Remember the Alto High Fidelity was that German company that put out a number of these. This is ASD 545, Defia, Nights in the Gardens of Spain, and Harpsichord Concerto. This was cut at EMI Abbey Road Studios from the original 2-track analog masters, pressed at Palace in Germany, sealed copy. Here is a really cool record. This has big dynamics, and let me just check something about this. This is ASD 3018, and if I recall correctly, I may not have noted that. Yes, I am right. This is one of those efforts where this record was originally just a single record. And when they recut it, because the dynamics are so great on this, in the original release, they cut it at a lower level to get all of it on the side. So these guys said, you know what, we're going to put this out as a 2-record set over 3 sides. So they've got the Manfred cut as Previn LSO, and they cut it over 3 sides, and the 4 sides blank. There's no grooves on it at all. I say Alto reissue of TAS, Editor's Choice, cut from original analog master tapes at Abbey Road and pressed at Palace in Germany, unplayed. But also remember, the cool part about this is it's cut over 3 sides, and it's really big and loud and dynamic. Great reissue. Here's another great one, ASD 3911. This is this an Alto? Yes, it is an Alto reissue. Notice they've got a sticker over the dog and horn. Remember the issue with trademarks here. So they put this out. This is a famous performance of the Baba Yar by Previn and LSO, very well known, and they did a fantastic job. All 180-gram pressings, pressed at Palace in Germany. So great stuff. If you haven't got that, that's one to have. And then we got a few interesting repeats, I think. This is Little Man Tate is a soundtrack from the movie. And there's some really nice music on this. This is on Varis Saraband, and it's a sealed copy. This is another one of those interesting reissues from Contemporary, and it was put out. This is another Alto. So Alto High Fidelity did these EMI reissues that we just saw some of, and then they reached out and did some Contemporary. So the old Contemporary label here. This is Something for Lester. It's Ray Brown, Cedar Walton, and Elvin Jones, and the music is just sensational. And this is an original reissue from Alto, and it's never been played. Here's a repeat as well from another week, another sealed copy of Mike Aldridge, Blues and Bluegrass. This is on Alligator Records, and it's a sealed copy. Then we've got our favorite Rodney Dangerfield Back to School soundtrack that's got, Oingo Boingo on it doing Dead Man's Party. It's got Respect on it by Aretha Franklin. Michael Bolton's on this, Everybody's Crazy. Phil Ingram's on it. Even Rodney Dangerfield, I guess, sings Twist and Shout. Real fun record, sealed copy. And then the last two things, this is another Alto High Fidelity reissue. Sealed, it's never been played. The Bells, Previn LSO, TAS, HP Super Disc Disc, EMI Large Dog Pressing, plays Mint, because it's never been played. And last but not least, this is, I think we've had this up before, This is Chet Baker, some recordings near the end where he plays pretty amazingly. Memories, Chet Baker in Tokyo. And this was put out on Paddle Wheel Records, and it's new, never been played. And that's all the offerings for this week, and as always, good luck.